The Blazers are a few weeks away from starting training camp. It's been a quiet summer, and the Blazer Focus podcast is back after being off for a few weeks. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and Oregon Live, and I'm joined by my main man, Craig Birnbach, who's been ducking me. See, we haven't had a podcast because I reach out to Craig, and he keeps me on red each week. What's up with that, bro?
First of all, that's a lie. That's a lie. I've blocked very few people in my life, and you are definitely not one of them. I'll just say that.
I'm not.
I answer your texts.
I'm on the,
as silly as some of them
on
are.
The list?
I still answer them.
Am I at least on the potential block list? No. Oh, you getting a call?
It's spam.
Anyway.
Just spam. See, I blocked that person.
Well, it has been a quiet summer, and let me tell you, as someone who has dealt with noisy summers since he took over this beat a few years ago, it has been nice to have nothing going on, to have a true, basically block of time where I'm at least semi off. I mean, I've been doing other things and, jumping on any Blazers news that pops up. But man, it's been quiet. It's been nice. But what does that mean, Craig? Like, I still think there might be a move made before the trade. Before training camp, sorry. Maybe Ant, maybe Grant, maybe someone else. But there's, I've been told by those people that there's a reason why a lot of teams haven't done much is because they're sort of waiting to see how things fit best with their salary structure now and moving forward with the new CBA, and that teams aren't as willing to just throw around assets for guys, especially if they have to extend them for $40 or $50 million or take on a bunch of salary. So that could lead to, maybe some moves as we get closer to camp and people figure out, okay, we're committed to doing this. We definitely need that. Let's make a move. Who knows? We'll see. But what do you make of the quiet summer forever? I mean, it hasn't been just the Blazers. It's been around the league.
Yeah, I think it's that new CBA
league, right?
And still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much money just, kind of spent in the free agent world. And making moves with the penalties, still learning about the apron and the double apron and how that's going to affect your team in the short term and the long term. So I think there's just been some hesitation to move now. And I do think that there's the contending teams they're mostly set, and they want to see what happens in training camp, probably. And then there's always those injuries that happen in training camp that force moves. And there's also always one or two players that decides right before training camp, we have a little bit of experience that, hey, I'm not coming, so you best trade me. So we'll find out for that. But we're going to start with the center position. And even when we discuss the center position, there's players on this roster that don't belong and are doing the team no good with their current strategy of trying to make the lottery again, and or playing young players to see what they have. So there's no way the Blazers can stand pat for the entire year with what they have. But at the same time, since they're not trying to win, there's no urgency. But at the same time, I think we did learn, if you hold on to your assets too long, you don't end up getting what you might have thought you were going to get for them. So that's where this, that's where Joe Cronin and his crew's got to do some help. And, we'll talk about it as we get closer to training camp. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to be talking about future Blazers is their head coach. So who's got no extension, and that doesn't count for the salary cap. So what's going to happen there? So I think that we'll have plenty to kind of discuss, and that'll be an interesting topic once training camp starts. Not a lot of NBA head coaches go into their last year with no extension and really no chance to win. Like sometimes they're like, well, this is his last year. He's got to prove it. Well, this roster's not set up for that. So that's going to be interesting. But, let's start with the centers.
Real quick, though, one thing in that area, and it doesn't necessarily mean everything, but he did hire the new assistants. He has been involved in planning for the future, right? They haven't left him out of talks and discussions and things that are going to be going on in the G League. He's going to have something to say about that. You can't hear me?
Yeah, you got to talk. Get it in front of you.
It's right here.
On the side. I'm helping the people.
Is that better?
I'm helping the people.
Is that better?
Bend it closer to your mouth, man. I'm just telling you. There you go. perfect.
Is it that bad? All right. I'm trying not to block my beautiful face.
I know, but people want to hear your beautiful voice. It's a podcast.
Anyway, I need to get a different microphone. This isn't working. Anyway, so he's involved with a lot of things they're doing. Now, that could not mean anything, right? You can be involved with everything and they can just fire everybody you hired next summer when if they bring in a new coach, right? But still, at least he's involved. Right. Well, that too. Like you said, I don't know how you even go about measuring what he's doing. He got high praises from Cronin at the end of last year and the year before, and they weren't good. So clearly they believe, at least publicly, that he's done a good job with what they've been trying to do. And if what you're trying to do is lose, well, Chauncey Billups is a master. Like they've lost a lot of games, not necessarily because of him, but their goal is to win. And he's facilitated that happening mainly because his hands are tied. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I would hate to see them use him as just a guy to rack up a bunch of losses and then they'll go hire the real coach they want. I think that would be unfair, but that's the NBA, right? All right, let's talk about the center. So the Blazers, we're going to do centers this week, maybe guards or forwards next week, and then one of the other the following week. We'll start with centers this week. So clearly Deandre Ayton is the returning starter. They drafted Donovan Clingan with a number 7 pick where, you usually don't do something like that if you don't believe that person has the potential to start. Then again, a lot of number 7 picks have never become starters, so you never know there. Ayton due about $35 million the next 2 seasons, so his contract's coming up, not right away, but relatively soon enough where you probably have to make a decision on him by next summer. You, of course, have Duop Arif, who's the pick and pop guy, who doesn't play much defense, and then Robert Williams, who plays a ton of defense, but couldn't pick and pop to save his life from maybe 8 feet out even. What do you make initially of this group going into the season? And again, it's so difficult to talk about anything regarding this team because we can't even really talk about it in terms of what they're going to do in terms of producing wins. But anyway, give me your assessment of this group.
So to me, the only guy, I think the safest guys that I would say are definitely going to be on the roster at the end of next summer, I would say Clingan and Reef. And the other two, I don't know. I mean, it's a solid position for them. In the sense that you got a legit starting center who's good, above average. Right now, his contract's not ridiculous now that we know new contracts. I mean, you see what other guys have gotten at the center position for a lot less production, even though different production. And then you just drafted the center of your future, you hope, right? So what are you going to do there? Is Ayton... I don't see you extending Ayton beyond 2 years because you're not good yet. You're not going to be good next year. So, and then the year after that,
you could be the year after that.
You could be, but you would hope Clingan would be your center based on what you've done. You didn't draft the number 7 guy to play 12 to 15 minutes. Like you would hope that you picked right. And then you go, Reith is, that's fine. He could be your number 3 center. He could play never. It's a great story. Best story of the year last year. Then you got Williams, who can't stay healthy. And if I'm the Blazers, I want him to get healthy. We don't even know at this point if he's going to be back for the start of the season. And I don't want to ever play him in a Blazers uniform because I want to turn him into something that can help me in the future. And a 6'9" defensive-minded center who's got a ton of injuries on his resume is not too helpful for a team that's tanking again. So, I mean, it's just we don't know what the direction is because I don't think the Blazers know the direction yet because you do have to see Clingan. Right? You got to see how good is he. Summer league, he was fine. He was fine. He didn't come out dropping threes like they were layups, like, there was a little hope for, but he's athletic. He's a winner. He could definitely play defense. So I look at it as a position where the Blazers right now don't have to make any decisions. But if someone comes calling for Williams or Ayton, I promise you they're listening. You know what I mean? They're not hanging up and saying no way. It will be interesting to see where Clingan gets his minutes, right?
Okay. So the thing that's good for them about Clingan is that I think he's going to do enough things well enough to warrant minutes, but he's going to do so many things at such a low, mediocre level that he's going to help produce losses. So he's going to be able to go out there and get like a 12-12-3 night, and he's a negative. Because the 8 of the 12 rebounds will be gimmies that anyone could have gotten. Yes, he'll have a few blocks, but that's not going to matter to the final score. He's not going to produce much on offense except some putbacks and an occasional dunk here and there, which again, anyone can do. So fans can get excited. Oh, look at him. He's a double-double coming off the bench. Oh my God, he's going to be this and that. Meanwhile, he's helping you rack up losses. The problem is you can't have Ayton be a dud because then you can't get much for him. It's going to be tough to get anything for him anyway because no one in the league is going to buy that Ayton's going to be some guy who's going to come in at $35 million and make a huge difference to where they're going to give up a lot of assets. This might be a situation where you have to take 2 second-round picks and some expiring contracts and a trade exception to move him, right? Now, if he plays out of his mind like he did at the end of last season, if he's a 25-12 guy and he's helping you win, well, now there's pressure on you because you have to, find an injury to sit him down because he's helping you win, or you got to try and move him right away because you're not going to want to give him $40-45 million a year if he's earning that because that flies in the face of everything else you're trying to do. So that whole situation there is delicate. It is going to be filled with fraud. It's going to be filled with shenanigans, and it's going to be extremely transparent as to what's going on. Because if Ayton played like he did the last 2 months, and Simons is back and healthy and played like he did when he first came back from the thumb, and Sharp plays like he did before the core went out on him, and Grant plays like he played all season, you are capable of winning 30-plus games. You won 21 last year while trying to lose the last 3 months of the season. You are capable of winning into the 30s. That'll still keep you out of the play-in probably, but it won't give you a ton of ping pong balls to land in the top 3, and your ultimate goal is Cooper Flag or at least someone in the top 3. So how they juggle that is going to be fascinating. And this center, to me, at this position is most interesting to me because you just drafted a dude that can help you lose, but at the same time decrease the value of your number one guy. And then you don't get much for him. And if you don't get much for him, that further compounds what's already looking like a pretty weak haul for Lillard that everyone praised and jumped up and down for. But now you gave Brogdon and 2 of the first round picks for Denny, right? So a player better than Denny and 2 first for Denny. You have 1 first left from that, right? And two swaps. Yeah. And you have Ayton. You got Kamara. That was nice. Okay. You got Williams. You trade Ayton for just stuff, then the whole thing falls apart, which is what I've been saying from day one. Even if Ayton pans out, you could have had Ayton and kept Dame. But if Ayton doesn't pan out, the entire thing falls to pieces. So if that happens, I mean, it's one thing to have that look bad, but then if you profit from it because you get high draft picks, then maybe that works out in the end anyway. But you're going to have to balance that. And here's the other thing. If Ayton's not getting minutes, if Ayton's not getting the time and the touches that he wants, Ayton becomes what? Downtrodden, sullen, and darkens the locker room, which is sort of what he did the first half of last season, according to many people. So it is going to be a delicate situation. It's fascinating to watch.
If he was sunshine, right, if he was sunshine and rainbows as a number 1 overall pick, he wouldn't have been accessible. Yeah, that's calculus, man.
Especially for Nurkic, Little, and Grayson Allen.
What you just explained, man, that's calculus. That's a lot. That's numbers and letters and things living together. And I don't know how you get a positive result. I mean, I really don't see it, because what you're saying is right. If Ayton kills it and you win games, that's your best case scenario to try to trade him for something. But who's going to buy it anyway? I mean, he should score 25 on this Blazers team, in some ways because they're not that good. But you're right. The overall players, when you list them like that, that's not a 21 win team again. That team's better.
Oh yeah.
The thing that I think about is that all last year, the whole result of last year is Clingan. I mean, that's it.
Correct.
I mean, Denny, you got a small forward for nothing.
Well, they could have got.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like for nothing, but I'm like,
anyway.
That's it. The whole Clingan is this thing, and you hope that you lucked into maybe a forward that's better than everyone else thought he was. Wouldn't be unheard of, right? It's happened. But like you played a whole year to tank and try to trade. And where did you come back? What did you come back with? The 7th overall pick.
Clingan.
And a power forward / a small forward who you had to give up a guy that you thought you were going to get 2 firsts for. And instead you gave up firsts for and that player just because you're like, well, I guess we're not getting what we thought we were. So I guess we got to make a move. And at least this guy's 23 and he can start if we move Grant, or even start with Grant. But again, that feels like you're trying to be mediocre with that roster. And they've been clear that that's not what their goal is.
Oh, you mean the end goal? Yeah.
Right. The goal for this year is not to be mediocre. Right. To be bad.
Right.
And that's the roster that you just named will has a chance to be mediocre. So that's not good. So I don't know. And look, what if Williams is healthy? Now what are you going to do? Where are you going to find his minutes? You're going to sit Grant? You're going to sit the forward you just got for trading 2 firsts? No, right? But so do you just try to move him before you play him? I don't know. I mean, he's 6'9", but he's always played so he could play the 4 with no offense. But you can't play Clingan and Williams together, that's for sure. Well, that's a sure way to lose. You might only score 72 points, but you're right, man. There's a lot of calculus to this. This is not easy math. All along with, are you in step with your head coach? Are you in step with Ayton? Like, what's your sell to Ayton, Aaron? Like, what's your sell to him to want to be on this team?
So, a media day, I'm going to ask a question. Someone else will probably answer the question. They beat me to it. But, Ayton has to be asked, how do you feel about them drafting Clingan and what that means? I think he's going to say all the right things. But he's not dumb.
No.
This is akin to drafting a quarterback when you have a starting quarterback. Because you can't play 2 quarterbacks. You can't play 2 centers. Some people say
to drafting a point guard with a top 5 pick when you have a point guard and another one. Right. And see what happened?
Well, but this is worse because you can play 2 guards.
No, but they already had 4.
They're both point guards.
And but I'm just saying, that's what happened. Dame left.
Right. So, if he's true, let's put it this way. If Ayton's truly ready to turn the corner and be dominating like he was the final 2 months, then I would assume that he would take this as a slap in the face. That said, if the Blazers' 100% goal was, look, we're taking the best player available regardless of position, and maybe we end up trading Clingan and keeping Ayton, who knows, we'll see what happens, blah, blah, blah. Or at the very worst, we have a really good backup center, which is not out of the question because it's the type of draft where you're probably drafting backups anyway. Most people have said there might only be 2 or 3 legit impact starters in this entire draft. We'll see. So if that's the case, and that's all that's available, right? Okay, well, we're going to get Clingan. We like him. He's going to be a very good defensive-minded backup center who can give us, 18, 20 solid minutes off the bench. And that's the best we can do right now. We're going to take it because those things are valuable, right? There's no doubt about that. So if that's the case, great. But, mentally for fans, that's not going to be what they're thinking because people are already thinking, oh, this guy can be, the guy, et cetera, et cetera. So how that works out remains to be seen, but I just don't believe that those 2 will both be on the team, 2 years from now when Ayton's in his final year of his deal, or let's say the year after. I would imagine Ayton would be traded before he finishes the final year of his deal, and you're not moving forward beyond that mark with those two on the roster. Because doing so, if Ayton's good, you got to pay him. So you got to unload a lot of money. He's not going to take a pay cut unless he has no other options. And if that's the case, that means he didn't play well, which means why are you keeping him anyway? Right? You just got to let him walk.
Yeah, see that you didn't sell me that car. Like if I'm Ayton,
I sold you like 5 cars.
But like
I tried to sell you 5 cars. You rejected Ayton, all 5 because it's all ridiculous.
So what's my best case scenario here? You know what I mean?
You crush it, you kill it. We want to keep you, we extend you, and you're the big man anchor for our future.
And the 7th pick overall, you're not going to want him to play, even though
he plays. He's your backup.
Even though he's 5 years younger than me.
Yep, he's your backup. And yeah, he's your backup. He's a different type of player, which is, I mean, that's plausible.
So you're saying my sell is in 3 years, I could if things fit perfectly, I kill it, and somehow we still lose. Because you're very clear.
Well, you can manipulate. Right, this year.
I'm just saying.
You can manipulate. Okay.
I'm just saying, which might mean I don't get to play. Right, that I won't play. That I'm going to hold out hope.
You only play 40.
That in 3 years, you're going to give me a big payday, and I'll get
You can get an extension. I think you can sign it next year.
Right, but are you going to extend them? They're not going to extend them next year.
Again, you just said what the sell is. If that scenario played out where he was killing it, he's turned the corner, man. He's dominating. He's bringing it every night. He's sticking it to Minnesota, OKC. He's putting up numbers. He's banging inside. He's playing defense. He has become a different person, just like Lauri Markkanen did when he went to Utah. If that happens, you say, we're keeping this dude because we believe that Scoot, Shaden, Denny, Cooper Flag, and Ayton is our core moving forward.
You just got Cooper Flag.
And we're going to ball with those guys. I'm just saying, because they're still going to try and get Cooper. Then you can establish that with Ayton, and then he can still sit. So you lose enough games with Clingan being around out there, and you still get a high pick to get Cooper. And then next summer you say, okay, we're committing to you as our guy. Here's your extension. So now you know you're the guy. You're here. Clingan's still on a rookie contract, and Clingan's playing a backup. And he probably resigns as a backup because I don't believe anyone's going to look at him and go, we want that guy to be a starter. And if they do, okay, then he's gone. I'm just saying that's the best case scenario for Ayton staying.
That's hard because you'd have to give me an example of that working before, and I'd be hard-pressed to find it.
I just gave you Lauri Markkanen. 2 teams gave up on him. Dude, the Blazers could have had him for what they traded for Larry Nance Jr. That's how little the Bulls were thinking of Lowry when Lowry got moved in the 3-team deal to Cleveland. And then Cleveland just threw him in on the Donovan Mitchell deal.
No, but
right? With Utah. So he was just they're just throwing him around just like the Suns just did. And all of a sudden he gets to Utah and boom, he's an all-star. So I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying there's your precedent. There's your example. That's all.
Yeah, if I'm and you're still gonna be on a bad team. You know, my thing is if he blows up, they're gonna be decent. I mean, Utah was decent for a while, you know what I mean? Like, because of marketing, and they had, some talent. I don't know.
But you can manipulate. But Craig,
I know, but the manipulation affects me.
But if he's going to get the money and he's on board for the rebuild and trying to get Cooper Flag, then he's going to be cool.
You're going to have to do that next year. Then
he knows he's going to be the guy. Because again, injuries pop up. An injury pops up. He should be out for 2 games. He's out for 7. Right? Second half of the season, an injury pops up. He should be out 10 days. He's out for 2 months. That's what they do. And then use a wink, wink promise, which is what they did with Nurkic that year, which is what they did with Ant when they sat him down 2 years ago, right? Wink, wink, wink. We're going to give you the money. Wink, wink, sit out. So you can manipulate. Also, you can manipulate the lineup around him. Oh, and you can manipulate the minutes. You don't have to give Ayton 36 minutes. You can give him 31, knowing that those extra 5 for Clingan are going to be negative minutes, which are going to help.
But then I'm not going to dominate.
But no, he can dominate within those 31 minutes. Okay. If he gives you 20 and 9 in 29 minutes, then you know that in 36 minutes, and some of the nights when he does play 36 minutes, every game won't be the same. He's showing that he's taken that growth spurt it's just all about manipulation, man. Come on, you know.
I know that,
baseball's
but that's
baseball is the easiest to do because you can just mess with the lineup.
That's a lot of trust in the franchise that they got your back the whole time.
But teams do that all the time. I don't even think that would be a problem because if you didn't follow through, the player and the agent will salt you. Well, so I'm just we're not saying this is going to happen, folks. We're talking about a scenario that could play out in favor of Ayton, to where you get Ayton to become dominating and you still lose, and he gets his extension, and you have him moving forward as the centerpiece of your offense and defense. Well, your center.
Yeah, I just don't see a scenario where that's going to happen. I mean, to me, the Blazers are much more hopeful that either their all-star, hopefully superstar, is either not on the roster yet, or it's Sharp or Scoot.
You're still going to need a big.
I'm not saying you're not going to need a big, but you're not going to need the big to be the superstar all-star. And in your scenario, he's got to be pretty close to that to get this extension.
To keep. Right, to keep.
Yeah.
He has to be.
I'm just saying, like, if I'm him, I'm saying, look, they just drafted Clingan. We all know how they're building. I mean, they shipped Dame out with the hope of Sharp and Scoot. I mean, they made that decision. He's not dumb.
Right.
That's a lot invested in those positions. And they're trying to tank to get Cooper Flag.
But they consider Scoot to be transcendent and Sharp to be the next Devin Booker. No one's saying that about Clingan, right? I believe if I'm Ayton, I'm destroying that dude in practice. One, to help make him better, and two, to let the Blazers know this guy can't touch me. And if you can't do that, then you're going to be gone anyway, because we got a young guy who's almost just as good as you, and he's 6 years younger than you. So if I'm Ayton, that's where it starts. I'm dunking all over that kid. I'm pump faking him up, and I'm ramming in his face. I'm talking trash on top of it. I'm busting jumpers on him. And when he comes inside or tries to do anything, I'm taking to him because I'm more athletic than he is. He's 1 inch taller, but I'm more athletic. I'm more experienced. I'm stronger. I'm destroying that cat. If it's close, if we keep hearing, oh yeah, Clingan's taking it to Ayton, Ayton doesn't want it. And then you just start trying to trade him. We'll give you a first round pick and stuff, take him off our hands. Because if he can't dominate this kid, then he's not going to become dominating. So that's where it starts.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I think.
So what's your life? So we punted. We came up with a lot. We're talking about things. Some of the stuff we don't even think it's going to happen. Tell me what you think is going to happen. Your prediction.
Well, my prediction is that
I'm going to sit back from the mic.
I will say I do not expect Deandre Ayton to be on the Blazers going into next season. Or he gets traded during the season next year. I just don't.
Wait, you do not expect him going into
this season? He'll play this season, but either in the off season, next off season, or in the following season,
by the trade deadline,
he's gone.
By the trade, okay. So by the trade deadline of basically 26, trade deadline, he's out.
And I wouldn't be shocked.
He has to be if he's not been extended.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's not going to be. I don't think he's the future now. But also this team, if they can't, there's no rush to trade to dump the guy. Like in your scenario of where they're just trying to get rid of him. The only reason there'd be a rush is if he made it. If he poisoned himself, like, and made himself poison for the team where they're like, that's it, man. He's killing us. He's bringing our young guys down or whatever. I don't see the scenario where he blows up and is suddenly the guy that you think you can build, is your building block. I don't think they thought that, the way they're building this roster, and the way the modern NBA is built. It's built around a few centers that are unicorns. I mean, Jokic, what I mean? Like, but that's not real, now, and I think there's a better chance Clingan is Jokic than he is. I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying, like, I would bet on the young kid that hasn't had to play offense yet, that's not maybe in the greatest shape yet, that is, 20, 21, that he can do a little bit of what Jokic did, because no one expected him to be that. transcended. So, I just don't see it. I see that the Blazers are banking hard on the backcourt leading the way, and hopefully getting Sharp or Scoot to be stars, and then whoever they get next year. I mean, you threw Cooper Flagg on the team like, oh yeah, we got Cooper Flagg. Like that changed.
That's because that's the goal.
Right. But if you get Cooper Flagg, everyone else is useless. Like they're not useless, but you don't need to worry about. You're building around Cooper Flagg from everything we've heard and seen. That's your future. So, when the season comes open, Ayton's your starter. Clingan's going to get some minutes. And there's no rush to figure all this out.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. All right. So one other thing that's kind of funny. Well, we'll talk about more when we talk about guards, but just the whole delicate balance of we want to get better, but not too good so that we win games, get into the play-on. We want to stay bad enough. And then we got to, because if Sharp and Scoot don't improve,
right.
Red flag. If they improve too much, trouble. Uh-oh.
And what if you? Right? And oh, by the way, you got Simons. But that's why this is going. That's why we do a preview, because we get to bring up.
That's why we're going to do a preview of the guards. All right. So our conclusion is Ayton will not be back he will not be back for a third season or for a fourth.
That's
season.
my prediction.
He's got 2.5 max. I'm with you. Okay. I think Ayton's going to be gone at some point, for a lot of different reasons. And that Clingan, they're going to give Clingan the shot in the next 2 years to prove he can be a starter. If he can't, then they'll just move in another direction. But he doesn't have to be a dominant scorer. If you end up with Cooper Flagg, Scoot, Sharp, and whatever else, you need defense more than you need offense. And he's going to continue to get bigger and stronger if he gives you that shot blocking, defensive rim protection presence. Plus, it's just scooping up rebounds like it's nothing because he's 7'2", long arms, and cares. One of the things I saw about him in Summer League, I think we talked about this, that dude went after rebounds. It's one thing to have the ball bounce to you and you're 7'2", right?
He wants it.
It's another thing to be jockeying for position and reaching over people and around people and just like,
he was blocking 3-point so
that shows that that's,
he cheered a 5-second violation in Summer League like he just won his third national championship. He's a good thing.
Exactly. So he's doing little things that are going to alter a couple more possessions for the team and give his team a couple more possessions because he's aggressive.
My final thing, though, based on what you just said, my final thing is if Sharp and Scoot are all-star caliber and you have Cooper Flagg, Clingan has to, he has to be alive. That's it. He just has to be on the court and alive.
Have a pulse.
And I'll be very happy, and so will a lot of Blazer fans be. Just stand
in front of the rim and go like this.
Like if you got 2 all-stars at the guard and then Cooper Flagg, we're good with just a center that's mediocre because you're going to be fine. But that was my favorite part of the day. Aaron Fentress just floating Cooper Flagg in the lineup. Like it's that easy.
Sharp, Denny, Scoot,
Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg.
Hey, we got Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg. Caitlin Clark coming off the bench. We almost forgot our question. Here's the question. I'm going to give you the chance to make the answer. Do the Blazers think, again, that tanking will help? It seems like the process didn't work for Philly. All the bad picks, they got Markelle Fultz, Shaquille Okafor, Noah Noel, Michael Carter-Williams, Saric, Ben Simmons. Embiid worked out. Could that be what happens to the Blazers, or will this all work out?
Oh, the guy basically just said what every franchise in the world says every time. Like, yeah, it could work. Of course it could work. Could it not work? Of course it could not work.
Okay, but do you think there is that danger where this is going to blow up in their face? But when I responded, so I'm doing this for a mailbag, but my response is, though, if I get Embiid out of all that, I'm kind of happy. Right?
Right. I mean, like, if you end up with they're title contenders right now.
Right.
So
you have the centerpiece to build around.
Yeah.
You can always build around a true number one MVP. And that's sort of my thing. Yeah. These other guys didn't pan out, but you got the one.
Right. You get the one. Right. I mean,
you get the one.
But at the same time, like you look at other places that it almost worked, but it didn't, right? I mean, tanking's playing the lottery, not once, but twice. Once when the actual lottery happens, and twice does that guy you get turn into Kevin Durant or does he turn into Greg Oden? And I hate to bring that back up, but let's be honest. It didn't. The first team that had Kevin Durant didn't win a title. Like as you always mention, he had to go and jump the bandwagon, team up. But at the same time, like he did make it fun for every team that's ever had him. True. So where's your success? Like, is your success like with just having? I mean, I think drafting Damian Lillard was a success. They didn't win a title, but we sure had fun. Like
this is true.
And so that's the thing. Like, but yeah, right now, it's not a success. They've drafted in the lottery 3 years in a row, and we have zero idea if any of these guys are all-star caliber.
Correct.
And other teams do. Right? So,
all right.
There you go.
Fair. We agree.
Buy your lottery ticket.
Okay. Anyway, all right. That's it for this edition of the Blazer Focus Podcast. We'll be back next week with either, what do you want to do, guards or forwards next week? What do you think? Let's save guards for last.
Yeah,
that's the sexiest one. And we'll do forwards next week, then guards, then we'll have one more right before training camp. All right, thanks for listening. Please give us a positive feedback and click that subscribe button, and we will catch you later.